National Assembly chairman begins working visit in Laos. Vietnam and Cambodia deploy QR code payments. And later on in our world news, over $700 million committed to eradicate tropical disease.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Hello there, it's 3 p.m. local time, and this is VTV News broadcast live from Hanoi. Top news of the hour, Chairman of the National Assembly Vương Đình Huệ arrived in Vientiane on December the 4th to begin his working trip in Laos. He is attending the first Cambodia, Laos, Vietnam or CLV Parliamentary Summit from December the 4th to the 7th. The invitation to this trip was extended by the Chairman of the Lao National Assembly, Phon Vihan. During his stay in Laos, the Vietnamese top legislator will hold meetings with high-ranking leaders of the Lao Party, State and National Assembly. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss measures to enhance bilateral cooperation in the future. Additionally, he will participate in various economic and cultural events. This includes meetings with Lao individuals who studied in Vietnam, Vietnamese businesses and the Vietnamese community in Laos. After his activities in Laos, the Vietnamese National Assembly leader will attend the Parliamentary Summit of Cambodia, Laos and Vietnam. The summit will cover 3 topics: foreign affairs, the economy and culture and society, as well as defense and security. Vietnam and Cambodia have officially implemented QR code payments between the two countries. The agreement was signed on December the 11th in Siem Reap City, on December the 4th in Siem Reap City, Cambodia. The cross-border payment system between Vietnam and Cambodia was signed and announced by the governors of the state banks of both countries on December the 3rd in Siem Reap Province, Cambodia. This system allows Vietnamese individuals with a VND bank account to scan QR codes using mobile banking applications to pay for goods and services in real. Similarly, Cambodians with real bank accounts can also use mobile banking for payment transactions in Vietnamese dong by scanning Viet QR codes of service stores in Vietnam. The Ministry of Industry and Trade, or MOIT, and relevant ministries and sectors of Vietnam are prepared to collaborate effectively with Belgium in supporting cooperation activities between enterprises from both countries. Minister Nguyễn Hồng Diên made this statement during a bilateral business forum in Brussels on December the 1st. Regarding investment, the minister highlighted that the EVFTA and the EVIPA will offer favorable conditions for Belgian investors in sectors such as mechanical engineering, processing, manufacturing, new materials, electronics, chemicals, high-tech industries, renewable energy, and logistics. Additionally, the MOIT hopes that Belgium will soon ratify the EVIPA, and Vietnam warmly welcomes more Belgian firms to invest in the country. Following the Prime Minister's directive to implement effective credit management measures and ensure sufficient capital supply for the economy, the State Bank of Vietnam has announced an extension of credit growth limits for banks. This extension is anticipated to facilitate easier access to loans for many businesses, particularly during the year-end rush period when capital is crucial for debt orders.
Anticipating a 10% growth in TET revenue this year, this business has been preparing raw materials and labor since June. Now, the business requires capital to produce goods and meet the high demand during the peak season at the end of the year.
This is a good opportunity and a positive policy from the State Bank of Vietnam for businesses in Vietnam, especially small and medium-sized enterprises, in a volatile and challenging economic context.
Since the end of last year until now, some banks have maintained a cautious attitude. This is because they tend to prioritize customers who accept high interest rates in order to control credit limits.
This policy is highly significant. Previously, the real estate business was limited to level B, but now it has been elevated to level A. The continuous injection of capital into the market is crucial for unfinished projects to secure ongoing funding.
However, some real estate businesses have also pointed out that extending credit limits is only beneficial for businesses that already have loan packages and need to mobilize finance. However, for businesses that are in the process of obtaining new loans and completing necessary procedures, the remaining time of 1 month until the end of the year is not sufficient for disbursement. Therefore, businesses recommend a reduction in interest rates to enable them to access cheaper capital.
With current lending interest rates for businesses being quite high, it's challenging to create a viable business plan. From a business perspective, we recommend aiming for an interest rate of 6 to 8%.
Given the prolonged implementation of real estate projects in the current legal landscape, businesses are also suggesting the simplification of lending conditions and the streamlining of the appraisal and disbursement process.
The revised draft law on credit institutions has been received and edited to include several regulations aimed at preventing cross-ownership and avoiding a manipulation of banking activities. However, the regulation regarding the reduction of share ownership ratios is still generating mixed opinions among relevant parties.
According to the draft, the ownership limit for institutional shareholders in a credit institution will be reduced from the current 15% to 10%. However, this reduction has raised concerns among banks that they may miss out on the opportunity to have strategic investors if the ownership ratio of one institutional shareholder falls below 10%.
These shareholders require a high ownership ratio. In return, they contribute to bank management and development. One option is to maintain the ownership ratio while tightening lending conditions for large shareholders or large organizations.
The draft also suggests decreasing the maximum ownership ratio of shareholders and related individuals from 20% to 15%. According to experts, while controlling ownership percentages is not the most crucial aspect, it is essential to closely monitor the enforcement of regulations to prevent situations where individuals hold shares in someone else's name. Even though these individuals may not be considered related parties, under the law, they actually collaborate to collectively own shares.
This ratio does not determine cross-ownership and manipulation of banking activities. The important thing is that we must be transparent about all personal income and assets. Secondly, we must introduce a better governance mechanism in line with international practices.
To ensure the proper supervision and enforcement of regulations, experts have also emphasized the need to improve regulations on the governance and management capabilities of credit institutions. This is to limit the abuse of rights by major shareholders. Additionally, it is important to strengthen the inspection and supervision function of the state bank. This will help in promptly detecting abnormalities and finding appropriate solutions.
In other countries, the monitoring system can be organized into parallel structures that cross-monitor each other. There may be a financial supervision organization supervising the state bank, and vice versa. The enforcement side of the state bank is also allowed to cross-supervise the supervision organization to ensure proper implementation of financial safety measures.
The draft law on credit organizations will undergo further consultation, editing, and supplementation before presenting a report at the next National Assembly session.
The total number of employed people across Vietnam reached nearly 52 million at the beginning of this fourth quarter, increasing by 87,000 compared to the second quarter. This is the information reported by the Ministry of Labor, War, Invalids and Social Affairs. However, the labor market bounced back when provinces with numerous industrial zones such as Bình Dương, Đồng Nai and Ho Chi Minh City saw an upsurge in recruitment demand from local businesses.
After over 2 months without a job, this man decided to find a new career instead of relying on 6 months of unemployment benefits.
I want an administrative job with a steady salary. Having a stable job is more secure than receiving unemployment insurance because unemployment insurance will sooner or later run out.
From the end of the third quarter of this year, businesses in Bingzhou began to restore operations to meet orders delivered in the first quarter of 2024. 70% of recruitment requirements are for unskilled workers. However, it's not easy for enterprises to employ new workers. In early 2024, this manufacturer intends to expand its production scale in Laos province, but a lack of human resources may threaten its plan.
In the first quarter of 2024, our company will recruit about 300 unskilled workers and 50 people for specialized positions. However, the main difficulty lies in recruiting unskilled workers.
The supply and demand in the labor markets at the end of 2023 and early 2024 served as a foundation for functional agencies to establish incentives for workers and employers.
Based on the practical needs of industries and laborers, the city will devise policies to effectively help businesses and industries with vocational training and facilitate access to decent jobs for the unemployed.
Due to the trend of relocating laborers from a few central areas to regional areas, a national database of workers is needed to strengthen the connection between job seekers and employers.
From now until the end of the year, there will be many discount and promotion programs nationwide. The Ministry of Industry and Trade launched a national promotion program on traditional sales channels and e-commerce. This year, there will be over 100,000 promotional programs from businesses. In 2022, the program helped total retail sales of goods and consumer service revenue in the month reached over 514 trillion Vietnamese dongs, an increase of more than 17%. This year, the growth rate is expected to be in double digits over the same period last year. And before we move to the next part of VTV News, let's check out how the Vietnam dong is weighed against other currencies in the world market today. Coming up next, teaching and learning amidst pediatric cancer battles. And Hanoi culinary artists elevate Vietnamese cuisine to new heights. Approximately 1,000 runners from Vietnam, China, and countries in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, participated in the inaugural International Friendship Marathon 2023. The event took place in Mong Cái, a border city in Vietnam's northern province of Quảng Ninh, on December the 3rd. The 10-kilometer route started at Mong Cái International Border Gate and went to China's Dong Xin before returning. The marathon aimed to promote physical exercise and foster sports exchanges between Vietnamese and Chinese localities. The event ran from November the 30th to December the 4th in Mong Cái City. Every weekend, the classroom of pediatric cancer patients at Ho Chi Minh City Oncology Hospital is filled with voices and laughter, creating strange sounds that echo in the midst of the battle for people's lives. This special class has been a diligent journey over the past 14 years. In this classroom, teachers and volunteers not only impart knowledge and love, but also receive valuable life lessons from brave little warriors.
Many students absent from class. While studying, some students go out to get blood, bone marrow injections, and take medicine. Some students carry an entire bottle of infusion fluid to class. I just hope the children know how to read and write their names. That's enough.
Mình có 10, mình trừ cho 2. 8. Đúng rồi nè, trừ cho 8 là ra. Some children still want to go to class even after receiving a medicine injection. Some of them may be very tired. I love them very much.
I keep all of the notebooks of 1,500 to 1,600 students. In 2009, Phạm Phương Như was 5 years old. At that time, she could occasionally draw something nonsensical, but gradually started to focus more on studying. This is the last page on Friday, May 4th, 2012, and the baby left this world around May 24th or 25th. This is Như Ý. Như Ý only studied for 1 week and passed away.
Handwriting is like a personality, it reveals the strengths of children. They have provided me with lessons to help me appreciate my life more.
They talked and laughed, but the following week I no longer saw them. They had gone home.
Vui, có nhiều bạn bè xung quanh để chơi.
Cô bắn chàng nó mai mốt hả? Nhớ bài. Con yêu cô lắm.
The Ho Chi Minh City Department of Tourism has announced the Ho Chi Minh City 100 Interesting Things program to promote the city as an attractive tourist destination. This program aims to become a highlight of the city's tourism industry by the end of 2023 and welcome the new year in 2024. Launched in December 2022, the program has received over 104,000 votes across 10 categories, including interesting Ho Chi Minh City tour programs, sites, entertainment programs, shopping spots, tourist accommodation facilities, restaurants and eateries, cafes, check-in points, tourism, cultural and sports events, and delicacies. The World Travel Awards has named Vietnam the world's leading heritage destination 2023, a title it has won 4 times already, said the Vietnam National Authority of Tourism, or VNAT. The award will continue to cement Vietnam's potential and attractiveness in terms of natural resources and long-standing cultural heritage values. Several destinations in Vietnam were also granted various awards this year. Hanoi won the world's leading city break destination title, while Phu Quoc was named the world's leading nature island destination. Mộc Châu was listed as the world's leading regional nature destination, Hà Province as the world's leading regional cultural destination, and Tam Đảo as the world's leading town destination. For the people of Hanoi, eating is a source of aesthetic and elegant pleasure. Whether dining at a popular or luxury restaurant, the dishes always offer a unique and sophisticated flavor that suits the occasion and season. The artisans responsible for these dishes must not only be skilled in their craft, but also understand the significance of each dish in order to preserve its characteristic flavor and cultural values.
This small alley in Tay Ho district is a must-visit for food enthusiasts in Hanoi looking to indulge in cold snail vermicelli. Hien's restaurant still maintains its traditional charm with a time-honored vermicelli basket, a clay jar filled with snail broth, and a coconut spoon adorned with a rustic design. Hanoi cuisine is truly remarkable and has been preserved by skilled culinary artisans who have a deep passion for their craft.
The connection between the soul and the countryside is akin to a profound nostalgia imbued with the scent of perilla and grapefruit. It is a feeling of nostalgia that lingers in one's memory and is impossible to forget.
From street food to restaurants, traditional dishes undergo transformations and innovations at the hands of skilled artisans. With Hanoi fried spring rolls, diners can experience the delight of a unique lotus spring roll.
I think it is now about creativity, self-study, and cultivating knowledge to bring new flavors and dishes while still retaining the cultural features of Hanoi and Vietnam.
This location was once visited by world-famous British chef Gordon Ramsay to promote Vietnamese culinary dishes. In recent years, Hanoi cuisine has not only impressed regular diners but also gained recognition from politicians and renowned culinary experts.
We must unify one way of expression and a certain understanding of the culinary culture left by our ancestors. Culinary artists are individuals who possess both skills and knowledge about Vietnamese culture.
Philip Kotler, who laid the foundation of modern marketing, commented that Vietnam, especially Hanoi, should become the world's kitchen. This vision cannot be achieved without a long-term strategy for developing the country's culinary artists.
On Sunday evening, a music show titled Sacred Phoenix was organized by the Italian Embassy in Vietnam in partnership with the Vietnam Union of Friendship Organizations. This event marked the conclusion of a series of events commemorating the 50th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Vietnam and Italy. More in this following story.
In a unique opening act, Italian guest pianist Maurizio Mastrini performed the Vietnamese national anthem, while Vietnamese violinist Trịnh Minh Hiền performed the Italian anthem. Together, they performed a repertoire of 17 pieces.
A whole group of extremely talented artists worked hard to create something truly unique. All stages are highly specialized.
The show incorporates the phoenix, a mythical creature from Eastern culture, as a symbol. Through its melodies, it takes the audience on an imaginative journey from east to west, exploring the mountainous northwest of Vietnam, the expansive Central Highlands, the ancient Cham culture, and the majestic snow-capped peaks of Tibet.
The talent of the artists overwhelmed me. The combination of Vietnamese and Italian cultures is the best part for me. It is an unforgettable memory.
During the performance, violinist Trịnh Minh Hiền showcased works with strong Asian characteristics, while Italian pianist Maurizio Mastrini performed 12 of his unique and latest compositions.
I'm delighted to collaborate with Vietnamese artists and contribute to the fusion of music from both countries. This connection goes beyond music and extends to our cultures and people. I look forward to more events like this in the future.
The music also featured a lineup of guest artists, including Vietnamese diva Thanh Lam, tenor Trịnh Thanh Bình, contemporary dancer Hà Tú Thiên, monochord player Lệ Giang, cellist Bùi Hà Miên, flutist Ngọc Anh, and French guitarist and violist Vang Sang Phi.
Coming up next in our world news, over $700 million committed to eradicate tropical disease. And EU increases Russian grain imports. At COP28, the United Arab Emirates, or UAE, and several charitable organizations pledged to sponsor $777 million to combat neglected tropical diseases, which are expected to worsen as temperatures rise. The financial commitments aimed at addressing climate-related health risks include $100 million from the UAE and a matching amount from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Additional funding is provided by other countries and organizations such as Belgium, Germany, and the U.S. Agency for International Development. Furthermore, more than 120 countries signed a joint declaration at COP28 outlining their shared responsibility in ensuring the safety of people as the Earth continues to warm. For the first time, public health is getting a focus at the annual UN Climate Summit COP28 as warming global temperatures threaten to undo decades of progress in public health progress. Global populations are increasingly vulnerable to climate-driven health threats from extreme heat, respiratory issues, vector-borne diseases, and others. Wildfire, smoke, and air pollution also pose severe respiratory health risks. More to follow.
Medical professionals staged a protest where they pretended to perform CPR on an inflatable planet Earth and called for the world to end fossil fuels. The World Medical Association president called for a rapid phase-out of fossil fuels, and the World Health Organization also drew attention to the impact of burning coal, oil, and gas on worsening health outcomes.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing that we see are respiratory effects from the wildfire smoke. Every summer is a wildfire summer, and so people will come in having worse breathing issues from that wildfire smoke.
We see a surge of emergency admissions of heat stress, heat exhaustion, increased risk of cardiovascular disease, mental health diseases. We even saw vector-borne diseases in Europe, and not just in the usual regions. So our health system is already exhausted.
Negotiating a phase-out of fossil fuels is one of the most contentious agenda items at COP28, hosted in Dubai by the United Arab Emirates.
Heat-related deaths among people aged over 65 years have climbed by 75% globally in 2 decades. Every year, 7 million people die from air pollution. Changing weather patterns driven by human activity and the burning of fossil fuels is contributing to record numbers of cholera outbreaks.
In partnership with the Alliance for Transformative Action on Climate and Health, WHO continues promoting commitment to building climate-resilient and sustainable low-carbon health systems.
The EU has increased its purchases of Russian grain by tenfold, reaching 180,000 tons. This is the highest volume since March of last year. In September, the EU significantly increased its grain imports from Russia with a 22% increase compared to the previous month and a tenfold increase compared to the same period last year. According to Eurostat data, Russia is now the 4th largest grain exporter to the EU. Currently, Ukraine remains the main grain supplier to the EU, with September's supply increasing by 1% compared to the previous month, but decreasing by a quarter compared to the same period last year, totaling 1.2 million tons. Russia's grain output for this year is forecasted to exceed 150 million tons, with an expected export of approximately 65 million tons. And now let's take a look at the weather forecast. And that's it for this edition of VTV News. Thank you very much for watching. To rewatch our program, you can download VTVgo from App Store or Google Play, or tune in our YouTube channel at youtube.com/VTV4Go. Goodbye for now.